So welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to use the MES emulator. It's somewhat old now compared to MAME. I don't even think they update this much anymore, if at all. But I like it better than the newer MAME. And I mainly use it just for hacking sheets and whatnot. So I posted a link in the chat that you can download this emulator, the exact same setup. Everything's done for you. You just got to change your controls and where the ROMs are. So in this video, I'm going to show how to hack GBA, simple codes and some advanced codes, and how to use the trace option so you can backtrace instructions so you can make like more advanced codes. So even if you have a 64 system, ignore this. Just use the MES UI without the 64 in it. Okay, so since we're going to do Game Boy Advance, you can just type up here Game Boy. There it is. Now if you need to right click on it and go to Properties. You want to go to, I believe it's audit or software. And here I have my own configuration, the file location where the ROMs are. I think this is wrong because I don't use this drive anymore. So now, once you put the correct folder, it'll load up all the games you have in that folder. I'm going to use one of the Castlevanias since it's pretty simple and easy to find some of the things we want to show off. I'm trying to remember which one is which. I think it's this Area of Sorrow. Okay, so I'm going to shrink the window down. This is the debug menu. The thing with the debugger of MES and MAME is it's all command based, so you have to type instructions out. It's not as intuitive as some of the other emulators with debuggers. But after a while, you'll get used to it. Okay, so when this pops up, you got two options. You can press F12 and it'll disappear and run the game, or you can press F5 and it'll run the game but keep the debug menu up. Sometimes this is good when you have like memory windows open to look at memory in real time. And generally what I do, I come over here and I go to debug and then new memory window. And I put that off to the side because generally I like to have 2 or 3 of these open, so I'm looking at either the program instruction, like load whatever into register A and stuff like that, or the RAM addresses, so I can see what's going on in real time, and I can also like edit it and see if changes occur when you're looking for RAM addresses. So here we have like the main CPU, which is ARM7, and then just main CPU. I'll figure this out once we get the game up and running. One of these allows you to edit the RAM, and one allows you to edit the ROM. So you'll have to likely change it to this second option here, and we'll see which one works. Okay, so I think we can probably just leave it in the ARM7. Okay, so I'm going to press F12 so the game will run. going to lower the audio a bit on the game. Okay. So once the emulator is open, if this is the first time you're using it, press the tab button, and then you can use your mouse. I'm sorry, the mouse or the keyboard, and you go to the input for this machine or in general, but usually this machine. And then here you can fix your buttons to a controller if you have it. Mine's already all set because I use this all the time. When you're all done, either hit escape to go back to this menu or just press the tab and it'll disappear. Alright, we don't need to hear all the story. I think this is a hacked version of the ROM. Let me see if I can find another one, something that is more common. I don't think people are going to have this one. So if you ever want to leave the game, just hit escape. Bring us back to the main menu here. I believe this one might be the one. Again, I'm going to bring the screen down. It's too big. We're going to have all of these kind of open as we're making cheats and whatnot. I like at least two, and then I'll open more if I need them. What's going on, Yagami? I'm showing people how to hack cheat codes on the GBA. I guess I already played this on here. Well, we'll just start a new game. Alright, this is the one with a shitty audio, but whatever. I think it's F11. We'll bring up the frame rate so we can speed it up, and F9 and F10 will increase or decrease. So I'm going to increase this a little bit just so we can speed through this text. Just pressing start does not allow me to skip this. Okay, so bringing that back to regular speed. So we're going to find some simple, easy codes, like for example our health. That's super easy. So whenever you want to go back into the debug menu, you press the tilde key, the little hat next to the number 1 on American keyboards. Okay, so for us to find some RAM codes, we need to first initiate the cheat engine. So you can either write cheat initiate, I believe that's what it is, or not, or I just use the abbreviated version, CI. You press enter. So found 294,000 addresses. All right, so we're gonna go back into the game. I'm gonna lose some health. Okay, we lost some, so it's 49 now. So there's a few ways of doing this. We can do exact numbers, or we can do like less than, or which is good for stuff when you can't see the actual number. So whenever you're going to do the following search, it's cheat next or CN. You got to put a space, and I'll put equals, so EQ, comma, and the number 49. But you can't put decimal. It has to be hexadecimal. So we have the Windows calculator in programmer mode, and we just type in the value, and it'll tell us in hex it's 31. So we put 31, and we hit enter. It found 363 cheats. So there's 363 addresses that have this value. Yeah, you got me. I'm showing the basics of this emulator because it's very powerful, and I want people to get into it and use it to find, like, whatever codes they want to do. So we're doing the simple stuff, which is basic number searches, and then using those addresses, we're going to do a trace into the actual program of the game, and we're going to change how the game actually works. We can change the program of the game. So, but first we have to find specifically what we're looking for, which is the HP. So I search for 39, which in hexadecimal is 31. So once we found this, we need to get it down a little bit more because that's a lot of addresses to go through. We go F12 to go back into the game. I'm going to lose a little bit more health. Okay, now we're 48. So again, the tilde key. The good thing about this is this emulator, it's similar to, I guess, like a DOS window. So if you press up, it'll repeat the last command. You can actually press up a couple times. It'll go through all the commands you put. So since we're going to, instead of me having to type it all out, I just press up, change the value to 30 because we lost 1 HP. Press enter. Now we found 3 addresses. Now which one is it? That's what we want to know. I'm pretty sure it's this first one because it says right here the start address was 32. 32 in hexadecimal. Let me put that in to show you guys. Is 50 right here. So 32. Whoops, my bad. Click on hex. 32 in decimal is 50. So using the memory windows I have here, we're gonna type this in. So let's go to this address. 02.01.854E. Press enter. And here we go. So we're at 30 right now. 64 is 100 in hexadecimal. So I'm assuming it must be the MP. Usually values in most games are games like this, role-playing games, will have a bunch of stats near each other. They're usually right next to each other. One thing I like to do, because this is in 32-bit mode, the values. So this is 8 digits. I like to put it in 16 bits or 2-bit chunks. Makes it easier to see. So the 30 here. So let's change this to 32. Okay, and we can press F12. And our health is 50. So we know that's our health. Yeah, the calculator is actually the Windows calculator. It's just if you click on the little option here, you have, the standard, scientific, graphing. You go to programmer for when you're hacking games and stuff, because most games they're all in hexadecimal. So it makes it easier if, like, you don't know what the heck you're looking at in hexadecimal. What is it in decimal form? Okay, so we found our health. It's good to have like a text file or something so we can keep track of things. So I have one open here. I'll put current health because it's not the max. Current HP, and here's the address. So if you wanted to make this a game code breaker code or Game Shark or whatever, all you got to do is add the zeros. Well, you can just look at the value in the emulator. We put it 0032, so would be 0032 if you want the current HP, and you would change the 0 to a 3, as the 3 is 8-bit. 8-bit is generally half of this. So since it's only these two, you can use the 8-bit. But if you want the full 16 bits, you would use the number 8 in the beginning. But I'm just going to keep it stock memory right now. We'll mess with that when we make codes later, like official codes. Right now we just want the memory, the addresses, so we can later look for more things. So I'm assuming this 64, which is 100, is the current MP. So I'm going to make this 32 as well and go back into the game, press F12. And then if we go into a menu and come back, it'll see now, you see the MP is now 50 instead of 100. So we found the MP address. So let's write that down. If we're not sure, we can always just, this goes by twos. So the address we're currently at is 4E, and the next 2 would be 50. And here's the 50, the 32. So I'm going to make this 64. And I'm going to copy the address. And okay, so that's the address that has the current magic, the MP points. I'm sure we could find other values here, like 1E. What the hell is 1E? We don't know. So you bring up the calculator. Make sure you're in hexadecimal form. 1E is 30 in decimal. What's 30? A bunch of stats. So there's a bunch of 1E's. There's 1, 2, 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. I'm assuming it's the strength, defense, intelligence. That's what these stats are. 19 is 25 more than likely. We can check that. Right there, 25. So we can change all of this right here if we want to mess around with stats. So 64 is 100. So let's do 64. Give us some super stats right in the beginning of the game. And let's go check it out. Look at that. I'm beefy. Yeah, usually the max value is 999. It's like really hard coded in there, and also there's only enough space for 3 numbers, so you can only put 999, 3 nines. But right now we can mess around with that in a bit. I just want to, show people how you can find these codes and these stats. Once I get past this area here where there's actual enemies, we're going to mess around with the experience. So we're going to change so we can like level up quicker. Oh yeah, super strong. Let's see. I can't kill this enemy because this is one of those scripted fights. I just got to keep going to the end. So the things I'm explaining and talking about here, this can be used on any game. It's not just Castlevania, I'm just using this one as like a specific specific game that's easy to see the things that we're altering. I'll do a few other things that for values that you can't see, like such as like health bars that normally don't have a value to them. So just so people know how to do that. So right now we're at 16. I know 16 is 10 is 10. So I'm going to look at these numbers here to see if I see a 10 anywhere, which would be the hearts. I'm not seeing any 10. So we can do a search for that. So once we found our code, whenever you want to search for a new code, you have to do the cheat initiate. So CI, and it's going to reset. We could do an equals to, or we can do like something we're not familiar with. We don't know what the value is. Let's just pretend we don't know what the value is. Yeah, when I was explaining about those Game Shark codes, this is essentially what I'm doing. We're going uh, easy mode, which is just finding simple numbers and values, and then we're going to change the actual programming of the game so it does things differently than what it normally does. But first, you have to find the values, the addresses of what you want to change the code that alters it. So I'm going to look for the hearts. So we did the cheat initiate. Let's go back into the game. Let's see if I could find some hearts. I think I can just keep going back and forth and farming. Yes. So now it increased. So we're going to do CN, which is cheat next. And since we don't know the value, or we're pretending we don't know the value, we do increase. So IN. We can abbreviate lots of things. So decrease would be DE. This is different than. There's an option that will show you all the instructions. I'll bring it up in a bit. So it found 7,460 cheats. That's a lot. So let's keep getting some more hearts so we can bring those values down to manageable address counts. Okay, we're at 26. So bring up the debugger by hitting the tilde key. All you gotta do is just press up because it's gonna be the exact same thing. We increased our number. Now we're at 969. Much better than 7,000. So let's go back in the game. Let me explore a little bit. Maybe there's a sub-weapon here that I could use to make me shoot these hearts. Okay, well that's a health. There's another heart. Okay, so the heart went up 1. Again, we're going to increase. 52 cheats. We're getting there. Once we get to at least 10, it's manageable and where we can see, we can try some of them out. Yeah, Symphony of the Night is pretty good. That's actually like my favorite Castlevania. I do like some of the I do like the GBA ones. They are very good too. This one is the second in the GBA games that were released. It has like awful audio. Okay, so we have more hearts. Let's do another search. Okay, we got 8 cheats. So once you have like something like 10, 20 cheats, whatever, and you want to look at the list, you have to type CL, which stands for cheat list. And since we initially started with 16 hearts, which is 10 in hexadecimal, I am very confident it's this one here. This is a good thing about this emulator that I like when you use the debugger. Like when you start to cheat search for whatever, it remembers the initial value, so that makes it easier to track down. So very likely this is the address right here. And if you look at our stats, it's 8550. This one is 8794. It's not too far away from that. But since I don't want to mess with this, I want to use this other window. And we're going to break this into 2 chunks as well. Okay. And there's the 1E. And if we don't know what 1E is, it's 30. So let's make this 63. 63 is 99. I don't think you can have more than 99 hearts. So let's go back into the game by pressing F12. And there's our 99. 99 hearts. Let's see if we can find the max of the hearts. Sometimes it's right next to what we were looking at in most role-playing games. which looks like this is it right here. I am pretty confident this is it. Oh, wait a minute. This is the max of our other stats, I believe. Well, let's see. I just made this 63. I'm assuming the luck is going to go to 63. I guess not. Well, either way, we found the hearts. Like if you want to make this with three numbers, we can try it. I don't think it'll actually fit, but we'll see. So 999 in decimal is 03E7 in hexadecimal. I know this because I use this value a lot. So let me go back into the game. Oops. F12 to go back into the game. And we go. 999 hearts. We're good. So next thing I want to do is, okay, we know what the value, the address for the hearts is, so let's write that down. Current hearts. All right. Next, I want to look at experience. You can't. It's really hard to change the one that says next, so you can it's deep coded somewhere. We will have to do like back traces, and that can take quite a bit of time. I don't know if I'm going to cover it in this video. We're just going to do the current experience. Once you get past a certain experience, you level up. So if you increase like I need 56 more, so that would be like 100 XP total to level up to level 2. But if I give myself 1,000 XP, I'm going to level up a couple levels because now it's going to give me the 100 and level up and continue subtracting the XP from what's next. Let's look for that. So the current XP is 64, which we don't know what it is in hexadecimal. Well, I don't know what it is. So click on decimal, 64, so 40 in hexadecimal. It might be close to our stats. Because it generally is around the same place, but I'm not seeing it. So we're going to do another search. So CI for cheat initiate. CN equals, and we know what it is in hexadecimal, which is 40. And press enter. I found 193 cheats. Let's go back in the game, kill a few enemies, get some more experience. Alright, so you see the hearts went down to 30 because once we gained some, it reset to the max because we already had over the max. The games usually have some kind of checks to make sure that things stay within a limit. We can look at that once we go into the assembly with the trace log. Okay, so we have 75 now. What is 75? 48. So let's change this 40 to a 48. Press enter, and it found jack shit. Sometimes shit like this happens where we'll have to use the other methods. We'll do a cheat initiate again. Cheat next equal. If you don't put any numbers behind it, it basically does search for whatever hasn't changed. So it's probably going to show up the same amount. Let me move to another screen here without killing anybody. And bring up, we're going to do another cheat equals. So that means we haven't increased our experience. So we're just searching again for anything that hasn't changed. And it brought down a little bit. Still 293,000. It's ridiculous. We're gonna go back in, kill a couple enemies, and do greater than. Okay, so now we have 89. So instead of equals, we're going to do increase. So it increased and brought down to 401 possible codes. So after this one, I think we'll be okay with going to the more advanced stuff after I find the experience. Because we can do some good things with experience. For example, if you don't want to go max level, we can make it so every experience you earn is double what it normally is, or 4 times, or 16 times, or 32 times. We can change the way the code of the game handles the experience. But first, you have to find the standard RAM codes, which is what we're doing right now. Okay, so it increased again. So increase. We're down to 39 cheats. We're getting there. Okay, since I haven't gotten anything to bring the numbers down, we're going to, I'm just pressing up on the keyboard and it brings up the old instructions, doing an equal to. And now we have 5 cheats. It might be this last one here, but we'll see. 7, 8, 9. Is that what it is? 201, 8, 7, 9, 8. And I think this might be it. Let's see what 6E is. I see where I made the mistake. The B looks like an 8. I made a mistake over here in the hexadecimal. So 75 is 4B, not 48. I made a mistake there. Now that I'm looking at it better. So we could have found the code much easier if we put the right value, but I screwed up. But that's okay. This is why you can do 2 different ways. If you know the exact number, you can search for it, or you can do as we did. When changes occur, you do a search for it. So very likely this is it right here. We need 10 more to increase, so I'm just going to make this FF. Remember, this is hexadecimal, so if you want to know what FF is, you can just put, it's 255. So we should level up maybe 2 levels. Put FF and go back into the game. Okay, you see we're at 255, so I just need to kill somebody to increase the value, and there we go, we leveled up. We're at level 2. Okay, so now we know that's the address for the experience. We can use that to our advantage. Okay. So now that we have essentially a bunch of addresses for the things we want to mess around with, we can start getting into the more complicated stuff. I'm just going to move this out of the way just so we could see the addresses. Okay, so let's say I don't want to lose health. I want to change the code, the instructions of the game, so when I take damage, it will instead of taking damage, it will do nothing. So we're going to use our HP address. Copy that. Bring it back into the emulator. So now we're going to do a watch point. A watch point is basically, it watches the memory, whatever address we're going to put into it, and it'll cause a break which stops the emulator, and it shows you the instructions. If you look at this window here, these are all instructions, the code of the game. So to do that, it's a watch point, or you can abbreviate WP space the address, comma 1, and then either read or write. We don't care about reading because we don't know we don't really care where the health is being loaded into from somewhere else. We want to know when it causes a write. Like when we lose health, the number changes. So that is a write to the that is occurring to the memory. We want to see where it's writing. So I'm going to put W for write, press enter. Okay. So just to make sure this is going to break, I'm going to run into an enemy or take some kind of damage. And the game should break and the debugger should show up. This guy is going to throw his head at me or something. Okay, so right away it broke. So usually when it's a write instruction, which is what we're looking for, it always stops after the instruction. So the actual instruction is right here. Let me scroll up a little bit. They don't let you go too far up. So the instruction is, I'm going to have to do a trace because we can't scroll up further than this, so we don't know what's happening before this. And just because what you see is here does not mean all these instructions are going to run one after another. Sometimes, like this is a branch instruction. So this branch, something above it is making it either go to this address, which if you look here is 771cc, which is right here, or if it, there's got to be a conditional before this to make this branch. So there's usually like a check. Conditional is a check. So it compares something to something, and depending on the value, it either jumps to this address down here or runs the following instructions. As a matter of fact, there's a compare right here to look at. So this next instruction is saying compare what's in register 8 to register 0. And here are the registers. So we're not looking at this right now. We're just trying to concentrate on here. So you can see that there's a sub, which stands for subtract. So it's saying subtract what's in register 5 from register 0 and then store it in register 0. So register 5 has 6 damage. I'm sure if I go back into the game, I lost 6 damage. And then store it into register 0. And then this says right here, store the half word. Half word means 4 digits right here, these 4 digits. The H stands for half word. So store half word, what's in register 1, which looks like it's our health address, which is right here. Store in register 1, and the value of this goes into here. So if I press enter, enter is is what makes it go to the next instruction. So since the emulator has caused a break in the program, which is the game, the operation, you can run line by line and see what is happening after I lose health. So I can see right here, it's subtracted from register 5, 6 HP, and stored it in register 0, which right here is 33. And then it's taking what's in register 0, my new current health, and storing it into this address, which is my health address. This might be like kind of complicated for people who are not familiar with this. I'm assuming whoever's looking at this part is somewhat familiar with assembly and programming and all that. So if I press enter, it's going to jump. And if we look here, there's a 4E. 4E is right here. Okay, here's 4E. There's our current health because the store instruction already happened. The break occurred here because the store already happened here. That's usually how it works with the write instruction. If I press enter, it's going to do a branch. This is an automatic. Go to this address right here, FC. Okay, we don't really care too much what's going on after this, at least not right now, because it doesn't really matter to us. Okay, so you see right there, I lost 6 health. So now that we know that causes us to lose the health, we can do a trace log. Let me find another enemy, because once you run a trace log, it's gonna log all of the computer instructions, which is this, that occurred up until the break. So we're going to see everything that happened up until the instruction for us to lose health. I like to see what's before it because sometimes you can find codes where you can turn off like hit detection. So you can, so when you get close to an enemy, there's usually a check or an enemy projectile or anything gets close to you. There's usually a check and then it runs to a subroutine. We can nerf that jump, and this way the projectile or damage will just go right through you. You will take no damage because the subroutine that does all the instructions for you losing health never occurs. So you're basically invincible. Nothing can affect you. Maybe we'll look into that, but right now we're just looking for the simple stuff. So I need to find another enemy. When you do a trace log, it starts right away, and it can get huge. Like, I'm talking hundreds of megabytes. So you want to only turn it on when you're about to cause a break. This way, it's short and sweet, and it's easy to find. Okay, so this guy is probably going to hit me pretty soon. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the trace. So we have to write trace. Then the name, whatever you want to name it. I'll just put castle. .log or .text, whatever you want to call it. And because we still have the watch point, it's going to cause a break. As long as there's a watch point, the trace log is going to stop. It's going to record our watch point, which is what we're looking for. So I'm going to hit enter. So, okay, now it's tracing. I'm going to go back into the game by pressing F12. The game's going slow because it's recording all of these instructions. Okay, there's our break. Generally, I like to go back into the game. This way, a few more instructions get written into the trace log. So I'm going to press F12, and then I'm going to press the tilde key to come back into this menu. Okay, lost 5 health. Now we put trace space. You have to put a space off and stop tracing. So we know that I got some emergency vehicles not too far away from my house right now making noise. Hopefully you guys not hearing it. Okay, so so here's the address that we're going to be looking for. This is the instruction for the address of where the instructions are. So this is another reason why I like to have multiple memory windows. A0771BO. Okay. Now we're going to go back into our folder where mess is, and you're going to see that we have the castle log. As you can see, it's 39 megabytes for only like 2 or 3 seconds of gameplay. So it can get massive. The bigger it is, the longer it's going to take to open up, So we try to keep it short and sweet. Only turn the trace log on right before a watch point break occurs. Maybe I should have opened this with WordPad. WordPad works a little better. It's loading too. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're going to copy the address here that occurred where the break happened. And we're going to Control F so we can look for that. It's probably down towards the bottom since the break occurred. Okay. Okay, so now we can see here it's saying load into half word into whatever is from in register 1, which we know register 1 is our health address. load it into register 0. Then it says compare register 0. Well, you usually got to read these backwards. Compare what's in register 5 to register 0. And then branch less than what's in register 0. So if you have 0 health, basically, it's gonna go to this instruction here and jump you to what we saw area 771 CC. Okay, so it's a little further down. As you can see, that did not happen, but I am pretty sure that's like the death instruction. So when you have 0 health, it jumps into the death routine. But since we don't have that, we're good. So and then there's a subtraction, and then there's a store. So basically, it's saying load health, compare it, uh, register 5, which is the damage from the enemy. Like each attack has different values. If you scroll up further, you can probably find where it's loading the value in register 5. Right now, we don't really care about that. We just want to remove the subtract here. So the subtraction is this address. So if we go to this address here, press enter, which is AE. So this right here is the entire instruction where we subtract, the health gets subtracted. So for us to make changes in the simulator, this is what kind of sucks about the simulator. You can't just like type out the instruction if you knew what it was. Which is why in the file I included, there is should be an ARM7 right here, ARM7 thumb instruction. This is pretty big too. Okay. So the easiest way for us, again, this is good if you know some of the program and you're familiar with some of the assembly of the Game Boy Advance. We're going to look for NOP. There's no NOP. That's surprising. About sub. Sub is subtract. Okay. So there's a bunch of different values here. So if we look at, this is the instruction. So the instruction is 808, well, 8008, and then this additional value. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's a NOP. A NOP is no operation. Basically, don't do anything. Which I think let's move register 1 into 1 or register 0 into 0. I think that's what we call a NOP in the Game Boy Advance, if I remember correctly. Okay, so there's 2000. Actually, 2400, which is the same thing. That's 2400. Well, I guess there's no 2400. Well, let's look for it then. 2400. Maybe I'm thinking of the PlayStation. The PlayStation NOP is 2400. Short NOP. Okay, so we'll just do this 2000. And generally what I like to do is I like to copy the value over here. So in case I make something doesn't work quite like how I was expecting it to, I can always put it back because the game sometimes can crash or you have unexpected things occur. So the value here is 881 B40. Okay. So now I can safely change this. Let's change this to 2000. Well, I guess we can't change the value because we are in that area I talked about. Let's see if we can change it here. I think the cart ROM. Nope. Yeah, that sucks. Crap. Well, shit. I remember I could do this. I'm just trying to remember. It's been a while since I did much with the GBA in this emulator. Okay. Well, I guess we can use the ROM. I think that might be it. Or not. Yeah, this is all standard memory. Well, that pretty much killed this run. Well, what we could do is take what we find here, the trace log, and you could run this on the no cache GBA emulator, which has a debugger, but that has no trace function. So the whole point of this is finding some simple codes and then using the trace to find the instructions where hopefully we're able to edit it, but we're not able to edit here in this emulator. We can bring it to another one. Yeah, that sucks. Well, since we got this up and running, I guess I can run the no cache GBA and show how we can use the trace log we just used to make some changes there. Give me a minute while I fire that up. Okay, so we click on this white box and we get the games. We want Yeah, the audio in here is pretty crappy compared to the other one. Alright, that's better. Ugh, can't skip this crap. Alright, so those who are not familiar with the no cache GBA debug emulator, as you can see, it's almost as complex, probably looks more complex than the other one. But it has all the same things. It has the registers, this is the stack, uh, the memory here, and the instructions. So the way this works is a little different than the other emulator in terms of like doing breakpoints and all that stuff. So you can't search for RAM with this emulator, which is one of the things that sucks. And you can't also, and you can't search for you can't do a trace log. Even though it says trace here, it doesn't work nothing like the one on in mess. So as soon as this crap is done popping up and we can get into the game, I'm gonna go to this instruction. Actually, we can go to the address right now. Copy and over here, go to, put the address. And as you can see, it's essentially the same thing here. So you got sub, register 00, then 5, followed by the store. So we know that's pretty accurate in terms of what we just got from the trace log for the MES emulator. Okay, so before this enemy attacks me, I'm going to cause the instruction to break. So you go to, you right click on this memory editor down here, break watch point, and then right click again and define breakpoint. So here you have to use brackets. This is how it works. So you put a bracket in the address we want, another bracket, and exclamation is for write, question mark is for read. So if you put both like this, this will break on any read or write to this address. But since this is a what's it called? It's not memory like RAM address. We don't use this. Instead, we can just go to the address again. You can press down and it'll show a list of addresses. This is the one we went to. And then just double click it and it'll put a break. And now you have it down here. Whenever I lose health, it's gonna load. Actually, I'm gonna put it to the load as well. You can put multiple, so we can see what was exactly what's happening. Okay, so it just broke on the load. So it's loading the value of register 1. What's the value of the address that's at register 1? We know this is our health from looking at right here. And it's loading it into register 0. So I think okay. So I believe it's you see, I think it's F7 if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I used this debugger. F7 goes into the next line, correct? So now you'll see the value here is 32, which is 50 of our health initially when we did it in the other emulator. It's doing a check. This is the check that will, if you have 0 health, it'll bring it down to this right here. It tells you it's false, so this compare gave false for this branch. And here's what we wanted. Now it's going to subtract what's in register 5, which is 1 HP from the damage of this enemy, subtracted from 32. So the good thing about this emulator is you can right click and change instruction, and you can put NOP, which is 46C0. Okay, it's been a long time since I've used this emulator. And now what's going to happen is it's just going to do this check if you have 0 health, and if you do, it's going to kill you by bringing you to this instruction down here. If you don't, it normally would subtract, but since we put NOP, it's going to do no operation. That means whatever is here is just a blank space, and then it's going to store. So basically all it's doing is loading your health, checking if it's 0. If it is, jump. If it's not, store it. So essentially there's no other instruction here like subtract or addition or multiplication or anything like that. So it's going to just store it. Essentially you have pretty much infinite health. And when you just click back on the game, again we got hit. Got hit again. Now if I press start, we can see that our health is 50. So we essentially removed the instruction for the subtraction. If you didn't want to do that, I'm sure there's some other, there's a bunch of other things here with compares. So like even if you remove the jump into the death routine, there's likely other checks further down that will still kill you. But from normal enemy damage and likely almost everything else, this will work good for giving you infinite health, for example. Now, I want to look at the experience. I'm going to show whoever's not too experienced with some of the tricks of the GBA. I'm going to show you guys how to multiply the experience you gain so you can level up quicker. First, I'm going to remove these brakes. You can just click it once. You can also delete it down here. Right click and just click on it and hit the delete button. It's gone. So now that we have the experience address, we can set up another brake. Now this brake, we're going to do the way I was initially explaining it. So you right click, define the breakpoint. You have to do the brackets because this is a memory address, a RAM. The other way, by clicking on the instructions, is when you want to set a break on instructions, whenever that instruction occurs. One thing to be aware of is some games have shared instructions. So let's say, the health routine gives me infinite health, but it also might affect enemies, so they might get infinite health as well. And this is one of the reasons why it's good to put a break on the instruction like I did for the load or the subtract. This way, when you kill an enemy, it'll break on that instruction. And if it does, then you know that, oh shit, this routine also affects enemies. In this game, I don't think it does. Okay, so we're going to do the bracket. And I want it to break on right. So we put an exclamation point. Hit enter and just click on the image here. So since I made those changes, I'll never lose health. I can get as many times. The left on my pad is not working. Let me just see if I can fix it. Or not. This emulator is a little funky with certain controllers. No matter. As long as I can go to the right, I can find an enemy. So as soon as I kill somebody, it's going to cause a break, and it's going to jump to where it writes the experience. Shit, I hope there's some enemies to the right, because I can't go left. Okay, here we go. Alright, so it just caused a break. Remember what I said in the other video. When you have a break set to the right, like to write to the memory, it always occurs after it actually wrote. So right here is where it writes. So looking at this, we know for a fact it's loading whatever's in register 1, you add 28 to. So register 1 is this address. And if you add 28 in hex, which is what the H is for, 28 hex, to this address, it'll give us this address. So it's loading the value of basically our experience into register 0. And then it's adding whatever's in register 2, which is 5 experience from this enemy. So add register 2 into register 0 and then store it into I don't know why ARM7 has these two. Normally it would just be register 2 into register 0 and call it a day. But the GBA, the ARM7 processor, this is how they do it. Okay, so we know that register 2 holds the experience from the enemy. So like I did in the other one, if I right click, I go to change instruction. I like to always copy the original in case I have to go back. Like if I made changes and it didn't affect things the way I wanted, I can always go back to the way it was. So I'm going to just write R0, R0, R2, and then press enter. Oh, I forgot to put the adds. Okay, we can bring it up and just Forget the space, press enter, unknown command, really? Let's try that again. Let's get rid of the S. Okay, that worked. So now this is the one we're going to change. So this is saying load, add what's in register 2 to register 0, and then store it. So what we're going to do here, we're going to use a multiplication type instruction. We're going to use the left shift. So left shift is essentially shift this value over 1, and if you move the 5 over to this number, all of a sudden 5 is now 50 in hex. What's 50 in hex? Let's find out. 50 in hex is 80 experience. So now that 5 just turned into 80. So in order to, the way we do that here is by using the left shift instruction. So LSL space R0, R2, and then a value. I believe, let's try something simple like 2H. Okay. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to put a break here. So whenever it loads our experience, we can see line by line exactly what's happening with the math. So let's go back into the game. You find somebody else to kill. Okay, so this is loading. For some reason that caused the kill. I don't know why. And we press, what the heck is it? F7 to run to the next line. So now we're going to see we have 5 in register 2. And after this instruction is run, we're going to see it's going to take whatever's in register 2, multiply it, as I said, by shifting it over. And now we have 14. So we shifted it twice. So basically, it like almost tripled it. What is 14 in hexadecimal? 20. So yeah, so that was 4 times because we had 5. This enemy gives 5. So by using the 2H here, you can go up to, I believe, 8H, which is like 64 times. So the 2H is 4 times. If you put 1H, it will be double. So it would be double whatever this value is, which would be OA. OA in hexadecimal is 10 in decimal. So let us go back to the game. If I press start, we'll see we have 20. I kill the next person. Okay, the game froze, so that means it caused a break. I just click to go back into the game. Why is it not storing? We got a problem here. Okay. All right. So it gives us that, then takes what's in register value, register 0. Okay, so we have an issue here. Sometimes if we had another instruction here, we could have probably done this correctly. So we would have had the load, do the multiplication, then we would add to register 0, because the way it's doing it, it's always putting the value at 20. It's not adding to it. But this is just kind of like to show a little trick. So the LSL left shift, the register you want it to go to, the register where you want to multiply the number is the second one, and then depending on which one you want. So it always doubles. So 1H would be 2 times, 2H would be double that, so 4 times, 3H, 3 hex, would be double that, so it would be 8 times. And double 8 is 16. So the next one, so if it was 4H, it would be 16 times the value. You can go up to 64 times on the GBA, which I believe is 8H, 8 hex. I wish I could have done a little bit more, and this worked as I intended, but I did this video essentially to show somebody how to use the trace feature of MES which is how we are able to find lots of instructions, lots of stuff. Like this was the health. So you would have to make a trace log for, you know, the hearts or the MP or any other thing. You know, you would have this here. Now you have a blueprint. So before we lost health, all of these instructions here occurred. Sometimes, you know, it doesn't always just run line by line. You'll see that it jumps to completely different values. Like right here, this is jumping to completely different address. As you can see, you know, you got 807 and a bunch of numbers in 801, so that's a huge difference. Uh, Sometimes you want to trace where certain things are occurring before you lose the health. As an example, like I said, you can probably find um, where the game checks if you're getting hit or not and make it so it always thinks you're not getting hit. And you would find that likely probably in this area up here because I can see there's a bunch of compares, break equal done, and more compares. So this is where it takes time. You have to set breaks on these things. So when you take damage, it would break, and then you can run the instruction. Or if you don't take damage, like there's a compare here, this compare can likely be running all the time, and it would only process the following instructions if this compare was true, you know. But since we don't know if it is, you know, we're just hypothetically assuming here that okay, let's just say this compare is if you took damage, if you are hit, or the hitbox is uh, checked off by the enemy, or the enemy was within range, you know, it'll break uh, to this address here, and if not, it'll continue here, you know. So a trace log is super important. This is how I discover a lot of my cheats. You know, walk through walls type codes usually have checks like this. Like if you're at a wall, you know, run this instruction. If not, continue running some other instruction or jump to a different subroutine and run instructions. So by manipulating a lot of these branches and what the compares are checking, you can alter the game like significantly. So I'm gonna call it a day for this one. This was kind of short and sweet. Uh, if any more interest in this, people want me to delve deeper into maybe some other emulators or other games or some other code types, I could do that as well. But when you start doing advanced stuff like looking at trace logs, and you're going to be spending a lot of time looking at code, checking the conditionals, why this branched, what is it comparing it to, and if you look here, it's like register 0. Then you got to look at the debugger. What's at register 0? You know, for example, it's a value, but register 1 has an address. So you would start looking at these addresses. What are they? What are they doing? What part of memory are they affecting? You know. So there's a lot of investigative work basically when you start like delving deep into this, and then this can take sometimes hours. You know, this is one of my hobbies I enjoy doing because it makes you think. You're always looking at things. You know, why is this affecting this? And I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. You're trying to solve a riddle essentially. So if anybody has any comments or you want me to do some other things, I'll do it in a future video, one where I'm more set up to show exactly what I wanted to. I just wanted to show the trace feature essentially with mess, uh, which then can be used sometimes with other emulators that are more capable. Like this one is much more capable in terms of searching memory, making changes so you can see what's happening. But yeah, but this is the little secret right here that this the left shift when you want to do like multiplications of things. But you do have to have usually the add instruction. This one just had a simple 3-line. When you don't have enough lines, you can't really do much unless you jump to like an empty space in memory, run a bunch of instructions, and then come back. but then you're not really making cheat codes. You're essentially making like a ROM hack, because the amount of codes that the cheat devices or emulators can accept sometimes is limited when it comes to editing the ROM, which is what we're doing here. The ROM is where the instructions for the game come from. The RAM is where the end result of the instructions go to. And those are volatile, meaning that they get constantly overwritten. The instructions here, the ROM generally is read only. Whatever's here almost never changes. And most cheat devices do not alter the ROM. I think it's only the game, the Action Replay version 3, and I think there's a version 4, but those are only good for like I think 3 or 4 ROM changes. So, and each ROM change is one line only. But if you're using an emulator, you can use as many ROM codes as it accepts. Well, leave some comments, on what you guys would like me to do in a future video, cover certain code types. When you get to complex codes, you need to know assembly. If you don't know the assembly of the emulator for that particular console, this is going to be way over your head. I can try to explain things, but if you're not familiar with programming or at least some kind of assembly language, you're not going to understand any of this. I can show you like super simple basic things to make like infinite health, for example, like we did with the subtraction. We just canceled that out, stuff like that, or multiplication of values as we did with the experience. But once it gets to like actually searching things, investigating what is causing this to happen, that can take quite a bit of work. And if you don't understand this, you're going to be lost. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys got some enjoyment out of this and learned something. And I'll catch you in the next one.